Hello, good day. We are going to continue with the discussion of the course Business Research with Statistical Applications, textbook and guidebook for doing and writing research by Rex Education. Okay. The topic for today is about research structure and content. Normally, the research structure will depend on the institution that we belong to. Okay. Before we proceed, again, let's put ourselves in the holy presence of the Lord. For the Catholics, who made it the sign of the cross in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. For today, we are going to attempt to talk about the following. What is a research problem? And what is a research model? How to state and discuss macro, micro, and problematic situation in the background of the study, how to develop a conceptual framework that models the problem and subproblems in the study or in the research, how to link the conceptual framework with the theoretical framework. What is the reason why conceptual framework must be anchored to the theory and examples of some theories, statistical laws, and concepts as guide in writing the theoretical framework. Furthermore, we are going to attempt to talk about measurement of the problem and subproblems as represented by the conceptual framework, definition of what hypothesis is, what problem should be hypothesized, and how should a null hypothesis be stated, what should be assumed in the study assumptions. What should be included in the significance of the study? We're going to focus on the zoom lens approach in the significance. What should be included in the scope and limitations of the study? What should be included in the definition of terms? So let's define lexical and operational definition of terms. After studying this chapter, we should be able to know the seven. Please be guided with your book on business research and statistical applications. Okay, a managerial dilemma. Okay, uh, this arises when managers face complex issues requiring them to simultaneously balance multiple objectives. Often, there is no clear solution. So, these dilemmas demand immediate attention and critical decision making to ensure organizational success. For example, a manager might need to decide between cutting costs to meet financial targets and maintaining employee morale. So, this is actually a dilemma that can be answered through our research. Effective dilemma management involves systematically addressing the problem, understanding its various aspects, and fostering an environment where mistakes are seen as opportunities for growth. Managers must make tough choices, such as we address decreased performance levels, perhaps there is understaffing going on, etc. So, successfully navigating these dilemmas is what we have to do, okay, so that we can ensure the effectiveness of management in our organization. So this is true also not only for business, but for in any organization, especially for those who are taking up public administration as well. So when we are writing a thesis or a research, students often struggle to identify a suitable research problem. Sometimes they are becoming, overwhelmed by the so many issues presented by company managers. So it's very important for students to prioritize and select the most relevant concern for the research. We choose a topic of interest or a theme that we are considered knowledgeable about or has experience on. The students can find pressing problems in business magazines, online news, articles, journal articles, or even by considering the university's, of course, research agenda. We also have agenda of the country, agenda of the institution, agenda of the college, etc. So, regardless of the chosen topic, students should approach how we select the topic objectively and start gathering relevant literature to address the problematic situation. We focus on areas that have not been studied before in case we're looking for the research gap. So this is an example of a business research writing model. In the book, it has a more thorough explanation on each part, but I would like to focus on four. Okay, so let's just focus on this model. It's a lot easier. I don't know which page in the book this can be seen, but anyway, the business research writing model typically involves four steps. There are books that has seven. We have, it depends, but essentially, it can be divided into four lang naman. The first one is problem definition. We clearly identify the business problem or opportunity. For example, a clothing store with an e-commerce website notices that customers are abandoning their carts frequently. So the problem is to determine why customers are not completing purchases online. The next step is to develop a research design. So this is a plan to investigate the problem. This would include choosing research methods, can be qualitative, or both. We also define the target audience and we determine the data collection techniques. For example, the clothing store might use up a pop-up customer satisfaction survey on the website to ask customers about their shopping experience. The third step is data collection and analysis. We gather relevant data and analyze it to find patterns and insights. The clothing store collects customer feedback from the survey and analyzes the data to identify common issues. For example, of these issues are possible difficulties in finding products, or there can be a possible complication in the checkout process. Quantitative research can reveal how long visitors stay on a website and their exit pages. And lastly, reporting findings. We present the research findings and recommendations in a structured report. In the same example, the clothing store creates a report summarizing the survey results, highlighting areas for improvement on the website, so that we can address customer satisfaction and ultimately increase our sales. Business reports provide information and research to help stakeholders make informed decisions. Okay, all right, the background. The background section outlines the research context by first discussing the broad or the general factors influencing the problem. We call it the macro perspective before narrowing down to the specific issues within the study's focus, or we call it a micro perspective. So the researcher identifies and assesses the problematic situation, seeking to uncover previously unaddressed facts to inform analysis and potential solutions. The introduction, this is the beginning with the background of the study, must provide significant factual information to highlight the problems or gaps that the researcher aims to address. It should be objective and engaging, capturing the reader's interest and encouraging them to explore the rest of the research. There are two essential things that we are looking for. Number one, the statistical information, and number two, the authoritative statements coming from authoritative sources. The conceptual framework acts as the research studies backbone. It guides key elements like the title, subproblems, objectives, instrument, and statistical treatment. In the statement of the problem, the conceptual framework visually represents the relationships between variables through a graphical model. It also connects these variables to a relevant theoretical framework, explaining the theoretical basis. The framework clarifies the application of these variables within the specific context of the study. For example, if studying factors influencing employee performance, the conceptual framework might have a graphical model showing how training, motivation, and work environment can be your independent variables relate to employee performance, which is the dependent variable. We anchor these variables in a theory like Maslow's hierarchy of needs to explain the motivational aspect. We now briefly discuss how each variable is measured and applied within the organization being studied. So, this is an example of a conceptual framework. You have this in the book. The conceptual framework, which outlines the variables in the study, should be grounded in established theories. Linking conceptual variables to theoretical framework can be challenging and may require drawing from multiple theories or laws or models or concepts to adequately support the research. Researchers must be resourceful in identifying relevant theoretical underpinnings for the study. What is the reason why the conceptual framework variables must be anchored to the theory? Okay, before that, let's break down theories, models, and frameworks in research. So, the theory or theories explain, predict, and offer understanding of a phenomenon. It also challenges the existing knowledge within defined limits. They describe, they explain, predict, or control the phenomenon under study. A theory considers a broader and deeper context, suggesting the detail of what might be more general beyond one or more number of contexts. A model represent or explain the operation and mechanism of something else. A model holds for a given case or stated population arising from context specific research. Often, it indicates main features or influence or contribution. Process models guide the translation of research evidence into practice, outlining the steps that are involved in implementing evidence based practices. A framework. Frameworks provide a structure for a system or concept that acts as a guide. Conceptual frameworks, they actually link abstract concepts to empirical data, providing a comprehensive understanding of a phenomenon and theoretical overview of intended research. A conceptual framework identifies factors or criteria that influence a particular field within the more major features. Determinants frameworks focus on understanding and explaining the factors that influence implementation outcomes, highlighting the barriers and the enablers. A theoretical framework provides a systematic and structured way of thinking about a research problem or question. So, a theory explains why, A model shows the how, and a framework guides what to examine. Frameworks are descriptive, it bridges the gap between theory and the models. So these are example theories, models, or frameworks that we can use in our theoretical underpinning or theoretical frameworks. These are for management, still acceptable today. These are for human resources management. These are for marketing. These are for finance and accounting. These are some for, because this is a new program of study and a new discipline, entrepreneurship. Although the concept of entrepreneurship has been there for a long time already, the formal study is quite or relatively new. How do you measure the problem and subproblems as represented by the conceptual framework? The research questions derived from the conceptual framework must directly address the initial business problem. When phrasing these questions, choose words carefully, keeping in mind the statistical analysis that we're going to use to answer them. Ensure that the research instrument, for example, a survey that we're going to use, effectively captures the data needed to address each research question. Examples of common technical words used in subproblems are the following. We have words to be used in the research problems, okay? And equivalent statistical treatment. For example, if we're looking for the level, then measures of central tendencies or centrality will be used. Mean, median, mode. Relationship, then we are using the Pearson R for parametric data. Kendall, Spearman's Raw, chi-square. If we are going to answer the question influence or predict, then we may use regression analysis. If we are to use in our problem moderate or the difference, then we use t-test or ANOVA. When we try to explain the problem that basically is about perception, then we can use multidimensional scaling, multidimensional unfolding, and correspondence analysis. So, what is a hypothesis? A hypothesis is an educated guess about the relationship between variables. For example, increased employee training can be your variable A, will lead to a higher job performance, can be your variable B. The null hypothesis is there is no relationship between employee training and job performance. The alternative hypothesis is there is a relationship between employee training and job performance. Researchers often focus on trying to disprove the null hypothesis. If they can statistically show that there is likely a significant relationship, for example, a p-value which is less than or equal to 0.05, they reject the null hypothesis and accept the alternative hypothesis. A null hypothesis states that there is no relationship or effect between variables. It is designed to be disproven through statistical testing. For example, there is no significant relationship between employee satisfaction and productivity. The alternative hypothesis, conversely, claims there is a relationship. To wit, there is a significant relationship between employee satisfaction and productivity. When testing a moderating variable, the null hypothesis states that the moderator has no effect. Variable Z, for example, organizational culture, does not moderate the effect of variables x1, or in this case x2, training and motivation, or variable y, example, job performance. Generally speaking, for universities here in the Philippines, if we have a hypothesis, then we can go away from the statement of assumption. So it's either we have an assumption or we have a hypothesis, either one. So if we do not have a hypothesis, then we have an assumption. If we have an assumption, it's okay for us not to have a hypothesis for research writing in the academia. One moment. So what is an assumption? An assumption in a study or a research is a statement accepted as true without requiring proof or further research. This saves time and resources. It can be stated in a dedicated assumption section or integrated into the background of the study. For example, this study assumes that the majority of the customers at the downtown branch are local residents, and therefore marketing efforts will primarily target this demographic. Another example, it is assumed that employees have basic computer literacy as this was a requirement during the hiring process. Okay. The significance of a study outlines its potential contributions and value, making it worthwhile for others to emulate. The explanation can move from broad or macro to narrow or micro impacts, or vice versa. The zoom lens approach, for example, let's say a study investigates the effectiveness of a new customer service training program on customer satisfaction in a retail chain. What is the macro significance? The findings could inform other retail organizations about the potential benefits of investing in similar training programs to improve overall customer satisfaction and loyalty, potentially leading to increased revenue and positive brand reputation. It may contribute to the literature of customer service and marketing. On its micro significance, specifically, store managers can use the results to assess the program's impact on their team and make data driven decisions about resource allocation and training strategies. The improved customer service skills of individual employees could lead to increased job satisfaction and performance, as well as better customer reviews. The research may offer insights that will help training program developers improve customer service training and measure training effectiveness. Sample significance of the study, arranged specific to general, are the following. These are available in our textbook. These are the examples. Okay, let's now talk about the scope of the study. The scope of the study defines what the research covers, including specific variables, population, and time frame. For instance, this study examines the impact of remote work policies on employee productivity and job satisfaction among knowledge workers in the tech industry during the period of 2023 to 2024. The limitations acknowledge potential weaknesses or constraints, such as the sample size is limited to 200 employees within a single company, which may restrict the generalizability of the findings to other industries or larger organizations. Data collection relied on self reported surveys, which could introduce uh, response bias. This is another limitation. Examples of scope and limitations of the study by Te 2012 are the following. Just please read at your own time and pace. It's available in our textbook. Question: what should be included in the definition of terms? The definition of terms section clarifies key terms used in the study, providing both conceptual and operational definitions in alphabetical order. The conceptual definition is the general dictionary meaning, while the operational definition explains how the term is specifically measured or applied within the research. Let's say customer satisfaction. Conceptual definition muna. It's a measure of how products and services supplied by a company meet or surpass customer expectations. So that's definition conceptually from uh, the book. Okay, operational definition depending on the study. So let's say for example, in this study, customer satisfaction is measured using a 5-point Likert scale questionnaire, assessing customers' perceptions of service quality, product quality, and overall experience at the store. So these are two definition, the conceptual definition and the operational definition of customer satisfaction. Another example, employee engagement. Conceptual definition, the emotional commitment the employee has uh, actually embodies to the organization and its goals. So that's the conceptual definition of employee engagement. You're engaged. How much are you engaged? An operational definition, let's say employee engagement is measured using the Gallup Q12 survey, assessing factors such as clarity of the expectations, availability of resources, and opportunities for development. These are examples of definitions of terms. Okay, these are some of our learning activities in the book. What is the importance of hypotheses in any business research? Come up with your own null hypotheses. We are going to do that when we prepare for your research proposal. Learning activity 2.2. What are the things included in the significance of the study? How do you present the background of the study? Learning activity number 2.3. Question 1. What is the role of a model in a particular business research? We have touched that. And differentiate operational definition and conceptual definition of terms. Case for chapter 2. Are we on the right track? I'm going to give you the time and based on how you're going to answer case number 2 at your own time and at your own pace. Uh, we are given guide questions, uh, uh, 3 guide questions for this caselet, and questions for critical thinking. Number 1, what is a hypothesis? When do you use a null or an alternative hypothesis? And number 2, why is there a need to link your conceptual framework with a theoretical framework? The book also provides research activities, formulating your own background of the study using the correct format, and illustrating and explaining the conceptual framework of your study. The key terms that we used for this chapter are the following, and this is the end of chapter 2. We are all giving praises to the Lord, and may God bless us all.